Hi there, this is Doris Venter of Library Arts, and I want to thank you for joining me today for this amazing polar bear pond project, where it looks like a polar bear is having a ball, playing in the water, a penguin, a fish, a few toys, and with mixed materials and model magic, we're going to put together this great project. The first thing we'll do is go over the supplies, and then I'll walk you step by step through how to make this fun, creative craft. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, we're going to begin by going over the materials for your polar bear sculpture. First, you're going to need a cardboard base and some paper that we're going to glue on top to make the base more like a little watery, like a light blue or this kind of pretty mixed color. Then you're going to need a little glue to attach that to the base. So I have a little bit of glue with a craft stick here. You're going to need Model Magic not only for your polar bear, but you're going to need it for the water that your polar bear is going to be swimming in. You probably might need a little bit of white for other things too. So when you make your polar bear in the beginning, don't use all the white up. You're going to need a little blue to mix with the white to make some water. A little black for your polar bear details like eyes, paws, nose. And to finish off our primaries with red, yellow, and blue, these are great colors for mixing into new colors like yellow and red. You might make orange, or if you want to make some green, we're going to have those Model Magic colors. You're also going to have some little aquarium gravel to give it that little snowy rocks appearance, and a little white glitter so you can get that glittery feel of the snow, and maybe even just a touch of blue glitter to show some sparkle in the water. So why don't we go ahead and get started on your project. So in the next video, once you have all your supplies out, we're going to start with the base and building a ring around where the polar bear will be seated. See you in a minute. Okay, now that we've gone over your supplies, we're going to go ahead and start with the base. So you're going to need your glue and that craft stick. And I'm just going to put a bit of glue around the edges of my base. A little bit in the center, not much. I don't like to have thick, gloppy glue for this part because it tends to make your paper bubble. So I'm going to spread it out a little bit with the stick. Hold on to that extra glue for later. And I'm just going to take my paper, press it on. Sometimes I like to flip it over. And you can see here I've added this little mat onto the back of the cardboard just to give it a little support. So this is basically a 7 by 5 piece of cardboard. So if you're wondering, it's just a 5 by 7 sheet, not very big. Okay, next we're going to build basically like a little border of snow for where your polar bear will be. So I'm going to take some of the clay, but I'm going to leave a good half of it. I'm taking about half the clay right now. And what I'm going to do is begin to make a kind of lumpy border, sticking it right onto the paper. And this is just a little border. I'll take a bit more of the clay because I'm going to need it, but I don't need a ton for the polar bear, so it's all right. Making sort of a rough border for my polar bear pond. Let's call it a polar bear pond. And I'm making it pinchy and rocky and rough because I really do want it to feel that way. So this is not glued on. It's going to stick just fine to the paper. And this will be our water portion. So now that we have this on here, we're going to take some more clay. Again, still leaving some left over. And I may have to get more white clay. So if that's the case, I'll make sure that your packages have more clay, because obviously you're going to need more clay than I'm giving you or what I gave myself to start the project. So by making this for you, I can see that maybe additional white clay will be needed. So what I'm going to do is to give the water a little bit of an icy flair. I'm just gonna mix some white into the blue to make it light, like it's icy. And then what I'm gonna do, in this case, I'm just going to take a little bit of glue this time, and I might even put it along the borders just to help it make sure nothing, is coming up. I don't think anything will, but just a little bit of glue along the borders, pinching the clay down, and then a little bit of glue in the center. Again, we don't need a ton because I think the clay will stick just fine. Wipe off that extra glue, put the cap back on, and now take my water, what will be the water, and I'm going to stretch it out and push it up to the edges of this sort of icy Arctic base. So I'm just pushing the clay out so it looks like water. And this might be fun for you to think about. Not only would the polar bear be in the water, but maybe there'll be a fish or a seal or something coming out of the water. So you have this Arctic edge, you have this clay, mixed clay, watery base. So that is the start of our project. In the next project, in the next video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start working on the head and the feet of the polar bear coming out of the water, and think about what else we could add to our water. Like I said, maybe a fish, a seal, somebody poking its head out, watching the polar bear have a little fun, and then we can add some extra details along the edge. So get your border of your little sort of icy snow border made, your water inside, and then I'll meet you back here shortly. We're back now. So at this point, you should have your base completed, your Arctic border, your icy water, and now we're ready to put a polar bear in the water as if he is bathing and just having a ball. So I actually had to get more clay for myself. And that's something that teachers find out by doing. We learn too. So by making this video, I'm learning that I did not have enough clay to start with. So that tells me how much clay to give you as a person trying to do this project. So let's start with the head of our polar bear. And I'm going to start by just taking some clay and rolling it in a circle in the palm of my hand. So both palms are rolling until I get a circle shape. So I say, okay, that's a pretty good size head. I'm gonna make a little bit pointier right here. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm making a little bit of a nose bridge, almost like a dog's mouth, and I'm going to put it right there as if the polar bear is looking up at us. Let's add a couple ears so we can really get a sense that this is his head. Oh, there's one ear. Here is another ear. So doesn't that begin to feel a little bit more like a polar bear? Now, let's give him two little simple eyes. And this is just tiny little bit of black clay. I'm gonna put one eye here and one eye here. Like, whoop, maybe too much clay. I wanted it smaller. There. Like that. Let me hold it up and look at it. Yeah, that looks a little bit more balanced. Now, I definitely need a nose, and this time I want to make the nose a little bit bigger than the eyes, and I really want it to have a little bit of a pointy, triangular shape. So if you look here, I'm just using my fingers to make it into a slight triangle. You see that? Flat on top with the two diagonal edges. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right here, because polar bears have sort of big noses. So it should look something like this. His head is coming out of the water as if he is just having a ball, poking his head out. Now, the paws will be easier than you think. You're going to need two front, about the same size. Again, I still have white left over because I realized we needed more white. I got myself some more white. So I'm gonna roll both into circles, and I don't wanna make them too huge. In fact, these might be better as the back paws because they're a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna take two smaller pieces for the front paws, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna roll them into two, there we go. I think that looks good. Two smaller paws right there. And what I'm gonna do now to make it look more like a paw is I'm gonna flatten it just a little bit. So it's still rounded in shape. I'm giving it a little, almost like a fat pancake or cookie, and make it about the same size. So here are the two that I have. And now this is optional, but I like the idea of using scissors to kind of show his claws right there. You see it looks like a little hand, little paw. And I'm going to use scissors on the other one. And together I have 5. So I'm going to put one here in the water. It's coming out. One here. You see where this is going with the paws coming out of the water. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the 2 feet. They're going to be a little bit bigger because they're the back feet, and I think they need to be a little bit bigger. So again, 2 flat cookie or pancake size shapes, but just a little larger than the front paws. We're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you see what you end up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to put those right here at the very end. So his back paws are here. Now we're going to see the pads on his paws. There's a couple ways of doing this. You can take little black, little black dots, even smaller than the eyes, and just put one on the base of each toe on his paw. You see how I'm just gently pressing these little dots onto each toe on the paw. What do they call them? Do they call them toes? I don't know. And then he has a little almost triangular shape as part of his pad. And guess what? I found out something interesting in the news today. They were talking about the importance of play with animals. And one of the things I read was that polar bears in particular live longer lives if they experience play. And they're more successful with having cubs, starting families. So play is a definite important part of polar bear life. And this is hopefully going to be a polar bear who looks like he's just having a ball playing in the water. And this is why we're doing this. Now I'm going to do this to both paws, and then I want you to do the same thing to this side facing us. This is facing us, this is facing us with the black clay. And when you come back, we'll talk about adding some more things to our sculpture. Have fun, and I'll see you soon. We're back. Do you have all your polar bear paws completed and your polar bear head? Well, I think he looks really fun. So, my mind says a bit of his belly would also be showing coming out of the water. I can't imagine a bear as big as a polar bear not having a bit of belly showing, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a little pancake shape of clay, and I'm going to just make a bit of his belly coming out of that water as if we're just seeing a bit of it. So like this, it's coming out of the water, it's connected, the water's coming up to him, but it's still part of him. So a little bit of his belly is coming out of the water. I think that's a little bit more realistic for this, and I'm going to turn it around and make sure that this part of the belly seems to go right in with near the toes. So there is our polar bear having a grand time in the water. Now, I've heard that polar bears really enjoy playing with toys. In fact, you will see them sometimes with an old tire or a beach ball. So why not make a beach ball, right? So I'm going to make a fun beach ball that has 3 colors in it. It's going to be yellow, blue, and red. And I'm going to kind of roll it together, see what it looks like, and then I can decide, look at that, I just pinched it together, and I got kind of an even distribution. Now, if you want it marbleized, you could do that, but I like the idea of him playing with a little beach ball here, so I'm gonna put that there. And now what else would be going on? Well, I think that maybe you might see a penguin or a fish. Maybe a penguin's hanging out over here. So let's do this. Let's put a little fish in, then we'll work on a little penguin. So for my fish, I want my fish to be green. So if I know my color mixing, I know blue and yellow make green. So I'm gonna take a tiny bit of blue, a little bit of yellow. You don't need a lot of blue when you add it to the yellow. If you add too much blue, you're gonna get a super dark green, and I think I wanna keep this slightly lighter. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing, folding, stretching. Folding, pressing, stretching is actually it. Folding, pressing, stretching. And this is gonna give me a new color and this really pretty green. So what I'm gonna do with my green is I think I'm gonna use it all, because maybe I'll have a little fin, and I'll have his little face, and I'm just shaping it with my fingers to look something like a fish, maybe poking up out of the water like this, maybe with his mouth open. He's like, what is going on? And maybe I'll give him a couple little black eyes. Now you can also do this with a marker if you don't feel comfortable or confident with a, there, that's a little better, with the clay. But I'm making a little fish popping his head up saying, what? There's a big polar bear in here. He's having a good time with a ball, but excuse me, I'm a fish. I'm trying to live my life here. So there's a little fish poking his head out of the water with a couple eyes. Maybe I just fix that eye a little bit. Fix that eye a little bit. Look how sweet that is. So you add what you want. Do you want a beach ball? Do you want a fish? Do you want a shark? And then we're going to be adding some icy snow crystals on the outside of this base, and then maybe a penguin. So go ahead and make a couple things. In the next video, we'll add the snow crystals and we'll make a little penguin. And who knows, maybe we'll make a little sign too. So have a little fun with your clay, make a few things for your polar bear to play with, and I'll see you soon. Welcome back. We have our polar bear finished. Toys, fish. Now we're gonna work on that icy Arctic surround. So this is where we're gonna go back to your glue. And I want you to spread some glue around the edge of your Arctic border of snow that you made with the white snow when we started, because we're going to be putting some gravel on here. And I want your gravel to stick, so this nice thick tacky glue usually does the job. Then we can move on to making our penguin and adding a little snow glitter and blue glitter to our water. Okay, a little messy, but it gets the job done. Open up your white gravel, stick it around the base, the border I should say, of your base, like this. It's like a little white snow, ice crystal kind of a thing going around the border. Not in here, please. Just out here. Press it into your glue. Try to get a little bit all over. And we can even make a little snow mound for your penguin to sit on if we want. And while that glue is still wet on the border, you'll notice I have a paper towel here to collect any gravel. That paper towel is going to come in handy too, because while the glue is still wet, like I just said, we're going to put a little bit of white glitter on there to give it that really wintry feel. So I'm going to open up my glitter, and I'm just going to sprinkle it very lightly. I'm going to come back and add more onto the polar bear later, but I just want to get a little bit of white glitter all around where the glue is. Okay, that's good. Now, I'm going to take a little lump of clay, and I'm going to make like a little snow mound for my penguin to stand on. And the penguin itself, you're gonna want a small penguin, not really big, because we want it to make it proportional to the polar bear. So this penguin's gonna have a nice white belly. So I started with a circle, and then I just made it a little bit more like a jelly bean or an egg shape. Now, on top of that white belly, penguin typically has a little black head. So again, I always like to start with a circle, and then I like to shape it. So here is the penguin's head going on to the white body. Yes, he's gonna have an orange beak in a minute, and he's also gonna have black on the back of his body. So I'm actually gonna take this black, make it into a pancake shape, and sort of put it along the back side of the penguin so it comes out like this. But the white is still dominating the belly portion. So belly, head, back. Now we can make two little black wings. So if we start with a circle again and then we pinch, we can make one little flapped wing right here. And I'm gonna make another one. They're actually kind of longer than I'm showing, so I may have to flatten these out a little bit more, but I'm gonna put one coming out here with a little point. I'm gonna put another coming out here. So you have the two little penguin wings, the black body. Now let's make a little orange, and just like the green, you want more yellow and less of the red. So I just got a little bit of red and yellow. I'm gonna pinch and fold and pull. Fold, pinch, pull, fold, pinch, pull, until, and you just kind of speed that up, you're gonna do that until you get a nice orange. Color mixing again, right here in action with Model Magic Clay. Wonder how many colors you can make. I bet you a lot. Now we certainly don't need this much clay for a beak. So we're just gonna take a little bit, probably smaller than that, gonna shape it into a little beak. I'm just gonna stick it on the end of my penguin's head. So he's got his little orange beak, and I'm gonna give him a little white stripe on either side of his head, because I saw that on a real penguin, and a little white stripe on this side of the head. And instead of using black for his eyes, I'm gonna use a marker. There's one eye, here's the other eye, and that white helps the eyes pop out. So what is he gonna be doing? He's gonna be standing, looking over at the polar bear on top of that little snow mound. Here's my penguin. And I think I'm gonna give him some little orange feet. So I'm gonna put a little foot here and a little foot here. So here is, whoops, my cardboard sticking to my paper towel here. Here is my penguin standing on the snow mound looking down at the polar bear. Now, I know we want to put a little bit of glue into that water to make it look like a sparkly blue water. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue, tuck it in, and I'm going to put the lightest little sprinkle of blue glitter, because I really don't want a lot. I just want a little. I want more white glitter on the polar bear. So I got this blue, the tiniest little bit in there, just a tiny, barely touching it kind of blue glitter. There, there's some blue. Now let's get some white glitter on top of our snowman, our polar bear. Maybe on his belly, maybe on the tips of his paws, on his ears. And by the way, if you want to have fun making some pink ears, you could do that with your leftover white and red clay, because I barely used that at all. And I'm actually going to put some white clay on the tips of this little snowboarder too, because I think that would really be awesome looking. So I'm going to put a little glue over here. And now I'm going to take, again, my white glitter. I'm going to glitterify the edges of the snow here. And I'm going to put it on top of the bear's ears, on his belly, on his paws, so that it gets all over the place and really feels fun. And then I'm just gonna gently, on top of this paper towel, shake off any extra glitter and rocks. But basically what you end up with is a super fun, imaginative little polar bear playing in the water with his ball, with his friend, the penguin, and a fish nearby, and he's having a smashing time. Now here, I just want to show you one more thing before I sign off and then come back and conclude the video. But here is where I said if you wanted to just put a little pink in the polar bear's ears, you could take a little red and white, and you can just, the clay sticks to itself, so you can just stick it right in there in the ear, give him a little color like that, and there you go. Polar bear at play. So I hope you like this video. I'm going to give you a few minutes to finish your own project, and then we'll come back and we'll conclude. Have fun. See you in a minute. How'd you do? Did you have fun adding your penguin, adding final details to your project? And look at this. I couldn't resist. I had to put a little sign, Polar Bear Pond, because it just seems like that's what the polar bear is doing, having fun in his own little pond. So this is Doris Benter of Library Arts. I want to thank you so much for joining me today to make this fun project with so many different fun materials. I hope you brought some interesting details to your polar bear that maybe I didn't even think of, because that always makes me happy when people come up with their own ideas. So in the meantime, I hope you stay creative, you stay well, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.